Hello, story dwellers. I am Suzanna Reeves, and you're listening to the Rigoli Reeves Show. We talk about stories, plots, and arcs from fantasy, popular film and animation, books, and all kinds of creative works. We don't always agree with each other, but we do have an entertaining and often thoughtful take on stories. Maybe something we'll say will encourage you and help you with your stories or works. In this week's episode, we review Disney's Pixar animated feature Onward. Writing entertaining stories but without a villain. Can you even have a story without a villain? Please leave your thoughts about this in the comments below. If you enjoy our content, please like and subscribe as we try to release a show every week around the same time.
All right, let's try it with the recorder actually running.
I know. Here we are in the apocalypse, sitting in our car, and we're going to do our inaugural episode.
This is our episode. Yeah, because we're basically waiting for Chipotle and got bored. We've been talking about doing an online show or a podcast for a long time. Our friends pretty much just said, just turn you two loose in a room and you're an entertaining podcast all by itself.
So here we are loose in our car doing the podcast. I'm Reeves.
I'm Rigoli.
And welcome to Rigoli Reeves.
See, and I got top billing for some reason, even though you put this whole thing together.
Okay,
it does flow better that way.
Yeah, so what topic are we going to talk about today?
I don't know. We're getting food right now. How about the whole... Are we supposed to be sticking to writing, or is this general topics? Whatever's, hitting them.
Well, related to writing, it could be plots and story, and we could talk about Onward. Like the plot about that. Or we could talk about...
Oh, we were 3/4 through the movie before you figured out the guy was an elf?
Yeah, it just didn't stick out to me that he was an elf.
I think he's a troll. No, he's not.
What did you think he was?
Oh, I had no idea. They didn't look... They looked
touche.
Weird. They were purple, so I guess they were night elves.
Are they night elves?
I don't know.
Were they kind of borrowing?
They had me at Gelatinous Cube.
Yeah, okay.
No spoilers.
Okay, oops, sorry, no spoilers.
We didn't spoil anything on the plot. The plot's what's important. Right? So they had trolls. They had pretty much all the fantasy races all done in really, really funny and cute. I thought the plot was really... it seemed very childlike and superficial out of the gate, and it turned out to be really surprisingly deep and meaningful for the characters.
Okay, so from a writer's standpoint, let's talk about that. What was it about the show that made it very character-driven? Would you say it was character-driven?
It was very plot-driven.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. You didn't realize how character-driven it was until the main protagonist, Ian, started having some introspection.
Right.
And because he knew what he always wanted in life. He wanted to see his dad, meet his dad, do all these things with his dad. And then he started looking back on his life and realizing that those things that he wanted, he actually had. Not the way he thought he was going to have them, but he actually had. And that's where we get into the really deep character-driven story arc that was actually happening, disguised as him and his brother going off and doing crazy stuff.
We got a little bit more deep character arc with the brother throughout the story. And it went in a direction I didn't think it was going to go.
You mean Barley?
Which was very surprising to me. And no spoilers, absolutely. But it's worth looking at. And the animation has improved immensely. Pixar always does very good storytelling, so it's worth listening to. So speaking of that, who was the villain?
Well, we didn't have a villain.
What was the antagonist?
Well, the antagonist was simply trying to figure out what they needed to do, or they had a challenge. Mm-hmm. It was a challenge. There wasn't a villain trying to stop them. There wasn't an antagonist in the movie. There was simply a goal to achieve.
Would you say that the antagonist could have been the self? Overcoming the self? Self-doubt, self-replication.
There's that, but I wouldn't really call that an antagonist. That's just character development. That's somebody working through a goal or trying to achieve a goal. An antagonist or a villain really is somebody working against you.
There was a villain at one point that they had to defeat. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but they had to defeat it, and all of them came together to defeat it. But that wasn't the antagonist throughout the story. That would be a very good question. What do you think the antagonist was for that particular story. Does every story need an antagonist? How do you deal with keeping the story interesting if you don't have an antagonist against your protagonist? And that will leave us there. Thank you for enjoying our show. Have a good afternoon from wherever you are or from your car as well.
Thank you for listening. There are literally hundreds of shows out there, and we are very grateful you have chosen to listen to ours. We'll leave a link to our show notes in the description area if you're interested in more information about us, along with how to reach and interact with us. Thank you for subscribing and sharing our show with others.